We're staying in our new office project.dwg file. And we're going to take a look now at inserting blocks and redefining blocks in your AutoCAD drawings. As you can see, I've done a zoom extents on the drawing just purely so that we can see the overall view of the office project. Now you remember in the previous video, this is now a block. We're going to insert two more of those workstation blocks in these upper two right cubicles here. And we're going to change the configuration, and we're also going to redefine the block definition in the drawing. So a little bit of a crossing window selection like so, and the same over here like so. Get them all selected, right click and erase them. We don't need them anymore because we've got a block that represents them. Now over on the insert tab over here on the ribbon, we can click on the insert flyout, and there's our workstation block sitting there on the little slider bar. Now, we're not going to use that particular method to bring the block into the drawing. We're going to utilize the blocks palette. So I click on recent blocks, and this opens up the blocks palette. Now, it is a palette. You can move it around. You can dock it. Notice blocks are only available across devices if you select cloud storage. I'm not using any cloud storage right now, so you can ignore that message. Just click on the cross there. So here's the blocks in the current drawing. When you click on the current drawing tab, there's quite a surprising number of blocks in there. There's recent blocks, there's the workstation block, and you can also generate your favorite blocks. So if I go to recent, right click on workstation, copy to favorites, go to favorites, workstation is in there. One of the things I love about the blocks palette is you don't have to be in the same drawing to utilize a block. So I could go and open up a different drawing and still use my favorited workstation block in a different drawing if I wanted to. I can also generate block libraries. So if I go to this drop down here, you can see I've got lots of different block libraries. They're drawing files with all the blocks in them that I need for each library. And you can specify different files or locations for those. So we're going to go back to our recent tab. And there's our workstation block there. Now, if I just click and hold on that, you'll see it comes nicely into the drawing in the orientation of the block that we've already got in place, you'll notice. So as I move that around, you may notice that it just drifts around and the object snaps are available. Now, if I come back over here and release, you'll notice it doesn't put that block in the drawing. Now, I'm going to move the palette over here so that you can see the empty cubicles. Now, there's lots of different options here in the blocks palette. You can specify your insertion point, you can specify a scale, a rotation, and so on. So what I could do here is switch on rotation, and you'll notice now it gives me the option to rotate the block. So if I now drag and do this, when I place the block like that, you'll notice it hasn't rotated at all. Now, that might seem confusing. It is a little bit, don't worry about it, just undo it. And if I switch off rotation and specify an angle that I want it to come in on, this is where it gets a little bit clever. Click and drag, and it's now coming in at 45 degrees. So the rotation needs to be unticked. When you tick rotation, you're putting it in at the original rotation, just so you know. So I'll set that back to 0, which is what it was before. We've also got this auto placement switched on. Now with auto placement on, as I move around the drawing, you may sometimes see the block rotate round. Now it's not actually doing much at the minute. The auto placement isn't really doing a lot to the block, but some blocks can be set up where they auto place and rotate around to be placed in the drawing. I'm going to switch off auto placement as well. I don't want any of these settings on. I just want insertion point. Nice and simple insertion into the drawing. So click and drag on the workstation block, and I'm going to pop it on that corner just there like that. There we go. There's our block there like that. Now you'll notice we're kind of blocking the cubicle. We have to jump over the desk, similar to the one we had previously, you may remember, in a previous video. So what we're going to do there, we're just going to select the block, jump to the Home tab on the ribbon, into the Modify panel and click Mirror, and we'll use this line here. So we'll go up here, endpoint to endpoint. Now that's not the right rotation, is it? That doesn't quite work. It's still going to be blocked. So this is where you've got to really think about your mirror lines and how you're going to mirror your blocks and rotate your blocks. So the trick is we need to mirror on the horizontal, don't we? We need to flip this part of the desk up to the wall here. So let's select the block again, mirror again. We need this line here, like that. And we say yes to erase the source objects, and it's nearly in the right place. Just click on the block, click on the grip, move it up to the corner of the cubicle like so. Now with that still selected, we can mirror again, and we'll mirror using that little midpoint of the partition wall. Remember that in previous videos? And we need to just zoom out a tad, maybe pan, come up the polar tracking line, click on the polar tracking line, erase source objects, no, like so. So now all of these are blocks in our AutoCAD drawing. Now the lovely thing is you can edit these blocks in a different space and redefine the block. So if I select this particular block here and I right click, and I can go to the block editor on the shortcut menu. This opens up a weird and wonderful space. You can close the blocks palette, by the way, now. That can be closed. Now, you'll notice we are now looking at the original objects that form our block in the block editor. I'm going to select the computer, and I'm going to right-click and erase it. So now we've just got the plant, the chair, and the desk in our workstation block. Now, you can ignore the block authoring palettes here. They're for dynamic blocks. We do touch on that later. So what I can do now is I can save that block in the block editor tab on the ribbon. There's save block. So the block is now saved. I can close the block editor, and you'll notice now that all our block definitions are missing the computer. And if I go to insert, go to the insert drop down and bring the workstation in just from here, you don't need to use the blocks palette. You'll notice that new one doesn't have a computer either. So you've redefined the block definition in the drawing using the block editor. Just delete that workstation there. We don't need it. So right click, erase once you've selected it. Double click on the wheel to zoom extents.